A very warm welcome to everyone present here. Welcome to the Refresh Your Business webinar series at Vodafone Idea Business Services. Hope each one of you are safe and connected. It is our absolute pleasure and privilege to host this webinar series with our partners and customers for businesses like yourself. It is our constant endeavor to engage with businesses to navigate the challenges and opportunities and see how digital solutions and services could help address those. Towards this goal, we have organized our first webinar in the series, and today the agenda is to plot steps towards business revival in the new normal. Our session today focuses on sharing some of the industry expert learnings, approaches from companies and businesses, customer success stories, and emerging best practices. Few things before we begin. This is a listen-only webinar. However, should you have any questions, you can type it in our Q&A box. We will attempt to answer them in our Q&A section later towards the end of the webinar. We are recording this session for the purpose of future distribution. Now, I invite Ajay, Executive Vice President, Enterprise Business for SME Soho Market, to introduce the panel and kickstart the webinar. Welcome, Ajay.
Hey, thank you, Anushri, and thank you everyone for taking out your valuable time during this afternoon for this very exciting, the session. And I'm personally very excited to engage all of you for the next at least 1 hour, along with our partners, Google, KPMG, Rallis, and of course, we also have one of our key customer who has an exciting story to talk about. Let me give a quick introduction to our panelist members who are also industry experts as well as equally eager and excited to share their learnings, especially in the last 70 days of lockdown. So to start with, Abhinav Kishore, he is head of SMB India business, Google Cloud. We also have Aditya Rath, who's partner KPMG India. Naveen Sodhia, who's the head of IT and digital for Rallis India Limited, and Akash Agarwal, who's the founder of startup MyRescuer. And of course, I am Ajay Sehgal, from Vodafone Idea. So purpose of this session is to share with you our overall experiences based on many success stories, which we have created along with our customers, especially highlighting, how technology has become pivot for not only business continuity, but also for business revival, which is the key, especially, from now onwards, when the lockdown is getting eased out. The overall country, and obviously not country only, the whole world is talking about going back to the earlier state. So with this, I'll not take much of a time, but, we have divided this whole session into 2 subsections. In the first sections, we're going to talk about journey so far, as well as key trends which all of us have experienced in the last 70 days of lockdown. And in the second section, we're going to talk about our success stories, and we will hear success stories from each industry experts, as well as, the key recommendation which each industry expert wants to make it, especially for all of you guys. So to start with, let me go to Abhinav, and I've seen personally that Google is doing a lot of work in that direction. So let's hear from Abhinav. Abhinav, what's, your reaction, what customer behavior changes did you as Google saw during the last COVID period, and how did you react as an organization?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ajay, and let me first start by acknowledging that this is probably in all of our living memories. There's one of the toughest times that the small businesses in India are going through. Just that acknowledgement that this is indeed difficult. It's difficult for small businesses a lot more than the larger conglomerates, the larger organizations. I think that acknowledgement is a really, really important first step. Depending on what kind of surveys or what kind of interactions you go by, at least 50 to 60% of the SMBs today have acknowledged and admitted that they're actually impacted pretty significantly by this current pandemic and the situation. And I think it's also brought upon by the fact that small businesses in India are still not designed, or they aren't equipped to the reality of how to operate in this kind of a physical distancing environment. They are very used to working closely in physical proximity, both with each other as well as with their customers. So it makes the level of preparedness kind of took everybody by shock. Uh, in terms of what are the kind of areas that small businesses are seeing getting impacted, it's across the board. Almost 65% of the businesses said that their supply chains are severely impacted. Uh, 30 to 40% of the businesses said that they have unused inventory that's actually lying around with them and that's not reaching the end customers who also need that kind of inventory, but there's just supply chain and logistics challenges. So overall, while all of these challenges are there, I think the way I like to think of it and the way I talk to all these businesses when I engage with them is that think of this as an opportunity, right? And one of the strongest points of Indian businesses has been that they've been very, very resilient always. I've myself worked at larger organizations, large enterprises, as well as some small companies, and I've seen that the small businesses in India are resilient. They are very quick to learn, and they're very, very quick to adapt. Um, the important thing to note and realize at this point is that customer or consumer behavior is changing very, very significantly. If you think of small businesses in the pre-COVID days, businesses would actually consumers would discover businesses out on the streets, or even if these are B2B environments, people would have physical meetings, they would go to each other's offices. So it's very, very important to now realize that you need to be discovered in a non-physical environment. You also need to think of a lot of the business processes that you currently have in a very digital first kind of manner. uh, Tools and technologies are relatively easier things, if I can call it that, right? You can always find a subscription or something online, but really thinking critically of your business processes and making sure that they are designed to be digital first, I would say would be a key learning. So key takeaway, let's start thinking increasingly of digital first. Let's start thinking of building our processes and business goals around business, around digital, rather than thinking of digital as an accessory.
Great. I think it's important, Binav. So let me go to Aditya, from KPMG. So Aditya, from a consultant lens, what are the key trends which you saw in the last 70 plus days across the globe as well as especially in India?
Hey, thanks, Ajay. I think Abhinav summarized it pretty well, and I'm going to build on top of it. So, first of all, thank you for everyone who has joined in. It's absolutely marvelous to have a forum like this, which actually is focused to discuss small businesses. I've been multiple forums, Ajay, so I must congratulate Vodafone Idea team to think for small businesses and getting industry experts, which are from across large organizations, consulting, tech platforms, and so on and so forth. So well done. At the outset, I think the trends kind of are emerging, and it is a work in progress. So I must admit that the 83 days that I have been at home and 70 odd days when the government mandated it, or 75 days, trends are still emerging. Two or three things. The first is the way the small businesses reacted. And I think we saw a trend that majority of them had to react in a very in unprecedented manner, shutting down, screeching halt, and thinking that it was some of them almost thought, and it is sector also based on the sector that they were in. Some of them thought that it was going to revive, and I think majority of them had no clue as to what would be the length and the depth of this pandemic impact. The second piece after is the response. And during the response, I think the migrant issue kind of hit a lot of the small businesses, because India is a country where a lot of us have left our home. This is not my home state where I live. My home state is different. And hence, I always had to default back to my home state in a pandemic which was life threatening, which had the risk. So the fear, which was not necessarily around, the fear started gripping the small businesses, and they started losing their manpower. So the immediate reaction to some of the points which Abhinav mentioned around inventory or supply chain broken, the people impact started happening far more significantly around lockdown 2.0. I think lockdown 3 was the very first time when the government SOPs started coming out. I think there was a limited euphoria because people needed to understand how to manage and try to think to come back. I think we have seen a lot of trends where the so-called digitization, and we're going to talk about this throughout this afternoon, because they started to realize that even small businesses can operate using WhatsApp, using let's say basic aggregator models, or just trying to revive, because there was inventory, there was material which was coming in for certain segments, and they were there. In certain segments like hospitality and travel, the small businesses had no clue what to do, because absolutely, and till today also, it's absolutely crashed down. I think where we are now seeing over the last 15 to 20 days are the new green shoots. And I think I'm a brown optimist. We are trying to see that the conversation is changing. They want to go for a different kind of customer. They want to go direct in some cases. And they want to also get into the fact that what is this beast of so-called technology, automation, digital? What is this beast? Many small businesses are not organized. Abhinav mentioned, I want to build on top of it, that they're not organized to think technology first. They're organized to think services first, being close to the customer, being there in the physical proximity. And so that has been a challenge. The one specific call out, Ajay, that I want to do is for the channel business, which is B2B2C. I think the lot of channel businesses have not used technology, or have not really leveraged technology the way they would like to do to make sure that they make money. Channel has been, and India is a channel country. You like it or not, as much of aggregators are there, but we still depend on the channel. The person who delivers milk, kirana, medicine, the whole hyper local concept in India has actually saved us through the last 70, 80 days. So I think that's also a big piece which has got impacted in the small and the medium enterprises. But as you look towards industrial, as you look towards some of the other sectors such as healthcare, the small businesses have now realized that the new normal would mean they not only have to be resilient, but they also have to be when they come out of it, they have to come out much stronger. So the anti-fragility concept, I think, is something that they are taking heed to it today.
Come out, and I personally seen that the way they are coming out, and many of them are coming out, and definitely one is already there with us along as a panelist along with us. So we'll hear more from him also. But before that, I'll go to Naveen. So Naveen, being a IT and digital head of the organization, what changes did you come across around automation, as well as especially on the data security?
Thanks, Ajay. I guess what pretty much has been talked about by Aditya and is essentially that digital is a way to look forward in a current environment, to see to it that we are able to move away from a survival mode kind of thing to kind of see how do we redefine the way we work, and we redefine the way the new normal has to emerge. So while technology is definitely has been enabler in this segment, and technology has been adopted by many of the upcoming players. However, there's always a scope, wherein we are looking at how technology can further change the way the business has been operating. Now, with this, there comes another critical aspect, which is around the data security and the information security aspect of it. However, before we kind of jump onto that part, but it's important for us to see what technology and what new enablers that's something which are emerging. If you look at it from the last, I guess 80 odd days, when things have been slightly kind of going in a differentiated manner, industry has learned to live or probably evolve new ways of doing things. First of all, if I really have to identify, there are 3-4 critical areas which really comes out. One is that it has been very important learning that how do we make sure that our entire workforce is safe and secure, and they are able to operate very effectively. So basically, enablement of your workforce has been a very important aspect, and a lot of new, technology areas that has emerged in the last couple of days, which has helped our employees to ensure that we are able to monitor them, we are able to make sure their safety is available. Also, we are able to enable them securely work from home or from anywhere, whichever they're placed, and they're able to achieve what they're supposed to be doing, and they're effective. Second critical aspect is to make sure that, from a customer standpoint, one of the key aspects is that the business who have really, thrived well in this scenario is who have been connected with their customers and they have not lost touch with that. So that's one of the aspects from a customer connectivity standpoint is the sales and marketing enablement part. And many businesses have already addressed it and they're the way of addressing it. While there have been large solutions available, but there are very specific point solutions are also available to ensure that you're able to connect with your end customers in a very efficient manner. So sales and marketing enablement from a Salesforce automation standpoint or basically a dealer management platform standpoint or to address the channel requirement, because I come from an industry which is an agrochemical based industry and our customers are completely rural. So we have to make sure that we are able to, touch base with our dealers, retailers, and are still connected with our customers and customers and the farmers. So how do we address the entire ecosystem and just from the enablement standpoint is very important. And that's something which industry is kind of moving very fast in that direction. Collaboration platforms, new age cloud solutions on the RPAs and chatbots, WhatsApp for business. Some of these things have become very, very essential enablers. They are no longer just basically an optional part. Now businesses have really jumped on the wagon and adopted that. So that's one of the aspects that has really happened and something which is coming up in uses very effectively. The third aspect is your entire fulfillment part that really comes to play, because you have to make sure that your entire organization and chain is working, from a procurement to the manufacturing to the distribution and warehousing management, the entire automation aspect of it. Because if you're not addressing the complete chain as a whole, your fulfillment cycle not work. End of the day, your customer is not going to get what they really need, and you're not really able to utilize technology on that. Having all these systems in place, one of the key aspects that comes in place is how do you make sure that you still have a secure channel of working and you have all the necessary requirements to make sure that your customer privacy is maintained, your data security is established, and your employees are able to work effectively. So from a information security standpoint, from a data security standpoint, some of the best practices that many organizations have adopted has been kind of to revisit their existing policies and procedures, re-enablement of your employees with the different access levels, different subsets, some of these practices from a multi-factor authentications or virtual private network setups, and all of those things have been put in place. So essentially, if I have to really call it out, is that digital as a complete ecosystem, is kind of helping this new normal to evolve. Of course, these practices are coming, and industry players based on their capacities are adopting those. But I guess trend is emerging very fast, and it's continuing to happen, and that's how the new normal is going to get.
I think you are right, Naveen, that all these digital tools, and my observation is that these tools used to be available in the past also, but obviously now we are learning. And my personal experience is that most of the video, or I would say at least the multiple video call options were there in my laptop. But before this COVID, I never used it. I never knew it. Rather, a couple of times in the past I tried. I found it very awkward that why I am having these kind of calls. If I can pick up the phone and talk to people and go and meet people. Whereas now I know each and every feature of each and every video app which is there in my laptop, and I know how to use it end to end. I think that's the major change which I have personally experienced. Again, the point which I'm trying to say is that there's nothing new which is available. Most of these tools were available in the past, but we never used it. And now, I mean, what you're talking about is that people have started adopting, these new digital tools to drive change and obviously to manage the current overall ecosystem. Let's hear from Akash. So Akash, as a startup, since most of us we've talked about our experiences, which are more from the large organizations point of view, but I know that the startup challenges are very different as compared to the large organizations. And being a founder of a startup, what were your challenges, in the initial phase of lockdown?
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you very much. We have been into healthcare space and healthcare technology space for quite some time, and that's where our startup was in. And much before this lockdown happened, when the very first news of COVID started coming in, we realized that hand sanitizer is going to be a big business. So prior to getting into our current business, we were saving lives of emergency victims who could not be identified. Since most of the time the victim's identity gets stolen. So we were into that business, and we realized, there's a new thing which is happening, and we needed to change fast. So I would quote Aditya Rath here when he said he's a very optimist guy. I said, as a business founders, we need to be not just optimist but also opportunist. We need to identify opportunity fast enough to figure out what are going to be the new challenges with the market, with the customers, and how we can find a quick solution to that. One advantage that comes with the small enterprises or the startups is that they can change fast. They have this agility to move, create a change faster than anything else, and that's how what we did. So we started dealing into hand sanitizers, and like everybody else, we were selling it like a common trader. But at the same time, we were listening to our customer. So we were supplying it to B2B customers, and they expressed their pains that management, monitoring, replenishment is really becoming a challenge for them. And we said, okay, let's find a solution to that. We figured out technology can be an answer to this. Right? Since we were already there into tech space to some extent, we said, okay, how we could use technology to find a solution. And we just figured out, we designed a product, we conceptualized a product, filed a patent for this, right? And while we are still on the prototyping space where very well how Vodafone has been helping us, we started working on this on a manual mode, right? And we became India's probably the first and probably the only company where we are providing hand sanitizer refill services to our B2B clients. Right. That's the big pivot that happened in our entire business model. So so what we created basically is a blue ocean space within a red ocean market. Right. And that's what is required for any business right now, or especially for the SMBs or for the startups who otherwise have struggled or are now really finding it difficult to move to digital space. They need to figure out what is the new normal, how they can take their experiences to the doorstep or probably inside the door of a consumer or the customer, so that the customer doesn't have to go out. So as I quoted earlier also, the indoor is becoming the new outdoor. Right. And your all outdoor experiences have to be provided inside the door, inside the homes, or within the confines of the premise where your customer is working from. Right. So that's the new normal. As I said, quoting this to me, which said that we need to unlock the new consumer path to purchase, because the consumer behavior has fundamentally changed. The new normal has transformed the purchase pathway. And somebody said, I would quote, that the leaders rejoice in adversity, just as the brave soldiers triumph in the war. So basically, as business owners, as the business leaders, we need to tailor strategies or tailor our business models to today's unique condition. And we need to look through the system where we can find a place for ourselves. So that's what we have done, and we have found good success after pivoting to the new business model. Can't hear you.
Ajay, you are on mute. Ajay, you have to repeat. We lost you. Yeah.
So I was saying that in continuation to what Akash was saying, And I've also read somewhere that most of the innovations, happened during the crisis period. And in the last 70 plus days of the crisis period, I have seen personally many innovations in the business models, and especially, Akash's innovation around the business model, which he didn't elaborate much, but I will push him to elaborate more in the second section, that how differently he has done things. Rather, I would say the basic things he has done it differently. So, which is a true example of a leader. But
Sure,
before that,
Aditya.
let me share with the audience, the from the telco's lens, what key trends which we are observing from Vodafone Idea side. One is definitely it's not only during COVID, but before COVID also, there is a data tsunami or cyclone, I would say, because yesterday we were talking about cyclone. So data cyclone in India, which we all are experiencing in the last couple of years, and that has exploded further, in the last 90, 70 plus days of the lockdown. And a couple of years, this data consumption in India has gone up 40x. You know, around 2.5 years back, to be precise, we used to have 240 MB per user data consumption per month, which has now gone up to 11.3 GB as of last month. 11.3 GB at a population of close to 40 crore people, who are using data in India. So you can think of what's the kind of data consumption tsunami which is already there in India, which has taken Indian share, I would say, in the global data traffic from 1% to 17%. So meaning that we being in Indian, we consume almost 17% of the world data consumption every month. So that's a clear example of how much data are we using. And I came to know yesterday that one of my friend, he is doing PhD on finding out reasons, and rather I would say analyzing reasons that why the data consumption in India is so much, and what are the key drivers of data consumption in India. So he's doing PhD. He sent me a the survey form yesterday, which I filled it up, which talks about his thesis which he's going to write. The couple of other data points which we have, or rather I would say the trends. One is, my favorite trend which I am experiencing is the PC is going, or the desktop is going into laptop, which we all are experiencing. If there are four family members, each and every family members on video call, whether it's a dance class or a drums class or any education class or anything else or a cooking class, everything is happening on video. So each and every family member is now moving into laptop, and there is a sudden requirement. If there are four family members, four laptops have to be there, in the family. And similarly in the office environment, each and every person, and each and every organization, I have seen that they are now moving from desktop to laptop, because many organizations faced a lot of problem. People who were using desktop, all of a sudden the lockdown came in and people were not ready, the companies were not ready. But now each and every organization, large as well as small, is moving into that, so that each and every employee should be mobile. Work from home concept, which we all are experiencing. One survey, which we did recently, and this survey is the last month survey, where one of the data point was that 40% of the organizations stated in that survey that said their 75% plus employees in India, they were started working from home for the first time, which is again a new change. In India, uh, we being an Indian, we were not having a mindset of working from home, but now the mindset is changing. Again, each and every organization is now thinking that how can 25% at least of their employees should start working from home even if the lockdown is over. So that's another trend which we have seen. One more trend, which I would like to talk about is that which was there in our business, that we divided customer into digital and non-digital, and especially customers who were falling under the non-digital category, meaning that customers who were not paying digitally started paying digitally. Close to 92% of those customers, in the last 40 to 60 days. That's another change. Home as new office, especially for directors of small organizations, or as well as the senior management of the large organizations, is becoming a new normal. When I say home as a new office, meaning that home with full-fledged infrastructure. And being a telco, there are multiple requests which have come to us, where the home is now connecting on the leased line. The earlier most of the homes were connected on broadband. We all are using broadband, but But now people are asking internet lease line at their home because they want to make their home as a full-fledged office. Conferencing requirement is pretty much is visible everywhere. I never did these kind of the customer meets on using the digital platform, but now we are doing these customer meets digitally, no physical meet, and the couple of data points which is more as a education reference for all these small businesses, since I'm working very closely along with the Ministry of MSME. So even though a few of these points you should be aware of, but maybe for the sake of the repetition, but I would like to highlight a few points which government of India has started giving benefits to SMEs in India. One big change, which we were pushing for quite some time as large corporates through a couple of the industry bodies, the change in the definition of SME, which was earlier on investment, but now that moved to the turnover, which was the key requirement for this body of SMB, that the definition of SME under the government of India's law should be basis turnover, which has moved to turnover now. So 5 crore up to 5 crore, the companies are considered as micro. Up to 50 crore, it's small, and up to 250 crores turnover, it's the medium. And obviously there are data points or there are references to the investment, but majorly towards the turnover side. That's one change which the government of India has already done. 3 months moratorium was given earlier. 3 more months moratorium has already been given, and there is a ask for the moratorium to go to December. So that's the another change which is there, and I've seen that banks are creating a lot of noise around it to create awareness, so that each and every small business should be aware of. SME dues, government has already said that they're going to clear the SME dues within 45 days. That's the other direction which each and every department has got from the central government. Collateral-free loans, the equity infusion. My suggestion is you go to the Ministry of MSME website and you will find all these details that what kind of collateral-free loan options which government is giving to all these small businesses, and the up to 200 crores tender, only Indian companies can participate and bid. So that's the other change. So these are the 4 or 5 big changes. There are a lot of other changes are also there, but because of the time, I'll not get into detail. But I would encourage everyone that please go and visit Ministry of MSME website, and then you will see a lot of these points that how government is going to help, or rather I would say is already helping for these small businesses. So with this, I'll move quickly into our second round, where we're going to talk about the our success stories, as well as key recommendations quickly from each individual. And we are moving from business continuity, I would say, to business revival, that how the business is going to revive. And let's get recommendation from each industry experts. So let me again go back to Abhinav. That Abhinav, what's your recommendation from Google side to these small businesses?
Thanks, Ajay. Um, I'll actually start with my first recommendation, which is not related to technology, but I think it's very, very important before you even start talking about technology. Uh, I think the first one is really, really to take care of our employees and our workforce. It's very important. I think it's very underrated, and it cannot be said enough. Uh, Indian workforce is very, very social in nature. Uh, in the pre-COVID days, when your employees would come to work, they take a lot of comfort in knowing each other, talking to each other, and they talk about things which are outside of work also. If you need your employees to stay motivated and just recognize the fact that they're going through a lot in these difficult times, please lead with a very visible amount of empathy for your workforce and help them stay connected to each other. Very small example, my own team here at Google, every evening when we were in office at 4:30 p.m., we would go for this very quick chat with all of them. And we realized that it's
Abhinav, you're not audible.
Eat after 4:30 p.m. chai break.
Thank you so much. Um, and we realize that it's so critical to us performing really well as a team, and we still get together on like a small video huddle like this every evening for 10 or 15 minutes, and we make sure that we have that sentiment of just belonging and working together as a team. Make sure you create those platforms for your employees. The reason I also say that is that right now a positive mindset and a mindset to change is very important. We're talking about things like digital disruption. We're talking about how people are working from home for the first time. If they are not open to change, if they are not motivated, none of your changes will land really well. So that would really be my first solid recommendation. Uh, the second piece, and Akash articulated this beautifully about how we really need to identify our customers' pain points and use technology to address those pain points very specifically. Uh, I'll cite a few examples. In the past 2 months, uh, one of the topmost verticals in terms of the kind of customers that are engaging with us and that are engaging with us on a very urgent basis are actually from the healthcare sector. These are hospitals who have doctors who need to do remote consultation. These are insurance firms who actually need to do insurance checks with people. My personal example, my dad, he's nearing 70 and he realized that he needs to sign up for an insurance. And frankly, he realized that pretty late. But every insurance company that he spoke to, they mentioned that you need like a full-fledged medical checkup. He was very, very scared of actually going to a lab for a checkup at this point. And then he found this company that actually did an entire medical history and checkup online. And the doctor did a video consultation and they gave him a go ahead to sign up for the insurance. So that's the kind of agility that businesses need at a time like this to address their customer need. And the last thing that I want to call out as a recommendation, think of creating a digital face for your business. Um, and the reason I call this out, like I was saying earlier, you have an office, you've got people who are out on the street, you've had physical faces for your business in the past. Uh, Discoverability of physical faces is very, very low at this point, given the lockdown that we exist in. There's research that shows that of all the Indians who have been online, 80% of them have searched for either a store or a business, whether it's open, whether it's near them on an online search platform, right? You need to make sure that when those kind of searches happen, your business is visible. Simple tools like Google My Business, which lets you create like a free identity, uh, makes makes sure that there's a credible face that people can discover when they're looking up like a business or a service. Uh, and the last thing, basic tools and technologies that also have a credibility to them. So, for example, businesses that so far were using, let's say, a gmail.com address or a yahoo.com address, you have to now realize that that email address is what is lending credibility and trust to your business. Use a professional business email address, especially when you're, for example, engaging with suppliers or vendors that might be located even outside of India, that'll probably never get to see you face to face in the near future. So make sure that you use tools and technologies that give you that trust, security, and safety, not just for yourself, but also for the stakeholders, customers, partners that you engage with. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
I think it's important point you said that the digital identity is very critical and important for any business. The your own domain is important to give you a digital identity. So let me go to Aditya. Aditya, I'm picking up the statement which Akash just said that indoor is now new outdoor. A good statement, Akash. And consumer behavior is changing, Aditya. I'm personally thinking that even if the lockdown is over, I don't think, at least for the next few months, I don't know how many those months would be the few months. I will, before moving out of my home, if I need to buy something, even if I need to go physically, I will pick up the phone, talk to the shopkeeper, and ensure that the material or whatever which I'm to buy is available, readily available for me. I will pay him digitally, so that as soon as I go there, I don't have to stand there. I'll pick up the stuff and come back. So that's the change in the consumer behavior, which I think is going to come. So what's your recommendation? That how should small businesses should reach out to the customers, considering these kind of changes which are going to happen even in near future also.
Yeah, Jay, I think it's a very good point, and I think all of us are building pretty uniquely around a moat. If I have to say three things that our colleagues or friends who are listening to this webinar should take. The very first thing is that it's very important for you to have your direct connect with your customer right now. Do not depend on your distributor only, your channel only, aggregator, some sort of a portal, somebody who is selling it. No. Your customer needs to know that you are with them. Whether you are in B2B to C, whether you are in B2B, whether you are B2C, doesn't matter. Because I think the Abhinav's point is very important, that the customer, the levels of anxiety in the society are very high. There is lot of unrest, there is social tension, people are locked down. We are not created to take disaster for 80 days. We are created to take disaster in smaller chunks. So it's very important to be first connected with your customer, and the only way you have to be connected, which is a sub point of my first point, is through digital. Otherwise there is social distancing, right? So it's as simple as that. Otherwise you can't go and knock your customer door, they won't open up, society will not allow you inside, or the premises where you're there. So whether it is your email, whether it is your website, whether it is a digital asset that you have created, you need to have that presence, digital face, borrowing from what Avinav said. The second piece that you need to understand is that the the customer's behavior is to be much more aware of two things: fulfillment and service. So the customer is not looking for marketing right now, because the funds are also limited with the customer. There would be a lot of marketing push, but they're looking at who can provide timely fulfillment and who will be absolutely certain that they can service. So, for example, I'm working with a customer of ours. They're not in small and medium businesses, but they work with a lot of small and medium businesses to service your water filter. Now, water filter is one of the most essential component in your house. If it goes, unfortunately, if it goes off, you don't have water to drink. And then going out and standing in a queue in a pharmacy shop to buy a bottle of water itself is a half an hour process, plus the availability of stock. Now, these are new behaviors. The customer might just call up and ask the pharmacy or ask that convenience store or ask the store that where is available. You can order it from online, but then water is an essential component. So just imagine the situation of how fulfillment and service would happen through your channel, through the digital enablement, because the customer's pivot is around that. And third is empathy. I can't but bring out the fact that please understand, customers will ask for you on different payment terms. There is liquidity crisis. As much as you as a business would have it, your end customers would have it. Renegotiate the terms to find out what I call is a win-win situation. COVID has affected everybody in the same form or fashion. Nobody is trying to make money. Look at how you can use empathy to make the relationship much deeper, because when you are going to come out of it, whether it is this quarter or next quarter or by early to 2021, whatever the pundits are saying, the customer believes that you have stood with them during this time. And that's why digital becomes an absolutely credible source of how data can move from the customer's premises to your premises, and you both have agreed around it. Earlier, it was hearsay. Small businesses had to work through multiple channels. So these were the top three, Ajay, that come to my mind. And we have seen a lot of our customers who are small and medium enterprises that we are working with, where through different means and tools, we are saying them, just go ahead and start working on very specific area. Do not boil the ocean, and try to see you, because we have to live with COVID. I mean, it's not going to go away. Even when a vaccine comes in, it will have its own cycle of elimination from our life.
I think they bring one of the very important point, apart from obviously one is digital tools, reaching out. The empathy piece is very critical and important. It's not that things are changing, but the empathy would be very, very critical, uh, for us to understand and engage customers in a more effective and efficient manner. So, since everybody is talking about, Naveen, the digital tools to reach out, or digital ways to reach out to the customer, I have one issue in my mind, which I must be thinking that each and every small business must be thinking, that how we are ensuring the data security, because when everything is going digital, meaning that so much data is available, but data is available on digital platform. So what's your recommendation as IT and digital head of the organization to secure data?
So, Ajay, so essentially, if you look at it, digital channel has always been there in terms of connecting with customers. They've been doing it maybe sometime unofficially, sometime they've been connecting with them in offline mode, collecting the data. However, the power of data was never so much realized. What has really been come to view in the current scenario. It's been very important that we preserve the data and we secure the data so that, because that's the only asset we have right now. Because the more connected you are with customer, the best leverage you have in the current scenario to be able to provide them the services and enable the entire channel. So essentially, yeah, it's very important point that how do we kind of make sure that the connectivity channels are available in terms of different automation platforms. You are able to reach out to them using different technology platforms in terms of WhatsApp or Work for Business or maybe RPA, or you're offering them different chatbot based tools or other tools which are available. However, when the data comes in, it's very important for you to look at the data and analyze the data. Because see, currently you're not reaching out, you don't have so many touch points with customer the way you used to have a physical touch point where you could go back to them every single day and kind of ask them for more and more information. Now you have got a trend analysis that needs to be done. So in order to do that, it's very important that you collect the data into a secure set of secure environment. You look at your entire architecture piece part of it to make sure that you're able to kind of bring it all in one encapsulated format, and then you are able to basically put in a layer around it from a overall user standpoint. And since multiple people are touching the data, it's important that people who are accessing the data also have a given the right level of secure setup and authorization to access the data and leverage the data. Because it's very important that you revisit your data security layer, the entire information security architecture, and you reclassify that who should really be looking at what kind of data and what kind of access should be provided. So, given the fact that people are working from a home environment, let's understand and realize the fact that your threat landscape, which earlier when you used to work for corporate offices, you had a much more defined setup and where you could control things more easily. Here and now, people are working from home. Here and people are kind of accessing it from all different channels. Your landscape has considerably changed, and it has become more and more insecure. So, training your manpower, putting in right tools and technology, kind of moving away from a device-based security to a software-based security. Some of those aspects that are being done right now. People are making sure that you simply don't get access to the data. You also look at the intent analysis, whether are you really accessing the data for the right reason. If you see an anomaly out there, then it's important for you to assess whether that person really needs that kind of access to the data or not. It's a value to the organization right now. So those aspects needs to be considered. That's where you have to redefine your entire mechanism, the way you access your application system and access the data. That's an information security layer which has to be done. So go and revisit your systems, go and revisit your entire recovery plans and objectives. Go back and make sure that you do necessary mock drills to make sure that your systems are up and running, and at the same time you provide what somebody really needs to access to provide. You just don't give a blanket level thing, because people are working from an unsafe environment and they're out of offices. So you have to control all of those aspects on a user specific basis.
I agree with you that if there are so much data points, and if we are using different digital tools, there is a probability that each and every one, whether it's required or not required, start going to access the data point and data for the organization. So it's critical and important for organizations to think. And my suggestion is that the security again is a very vast subject, and I would suggest that all these small businesses, when they are going digital, when they are using different digital tools, keep in mind that there are different security tools are available currently even for the small organizations, to use it. So you should have a good idea and knowledge about it. So get into those discussions, get into those tools to know that which are the relevant and right tools available for you. But it's critical and important for you to think on those lines also. Let me move to Akash. You started your story, but I'm more keen that audience should know your story in detail, especially how did you do things, I would say, did simple things in a very different way, especially in the last 70 days, build up a good business model, which maybe I would say most of us never thought of. And obviously now how you're scaling it up, what kind of innovations, especially on the distribution, if you can elaborate more on those areas, because your distribution is pretty unique, especially in the current scheme of things. So if you want to elaborate more on that, how did you build up your distribution channel to scale up your business,
Sure.
and how you're bringing technology element into it?
Sure. Thank you, Ajay. So, as I said in my previous session about what we are doing and how we are doing it. Uh, so, basically, in giving your customer a comfort that he doesn't have to buy in bulk from you, and offering him a solution, that even if you take small quantities from us, we will not, we are not asking you to pay for a minimum quantity. That was the first comfort level that we gave to our customer. Second is, we realized, yes, we will need people, we will need feet on street. And we realized one opportunity that this entire migration has given us is where we are now actively seeking, uh, exploring to hire the workers who have moved back to their hometowns or the districts or their villages. And we are figuring out how we can create a sustainable livelihood model for them, so that they don't have to leave their village again and get on to the mercy of the government agencies or the NGOs or anybody else. So we are now trying to figure out how we can hire them, make them a micro entrepreneur, and give them a distribution rights of a particular territory where they can do a fulfillment of hand sanitizer at our customers' doorstep and in their city, in their respective cities. While we were doing this, we also realized that in bigger cities itself, we were not finding people for our legwork, and that's where we actually figured out that there's another community which has a lot of taboo around it, and that's the transgender community. Right. And right now, for example, in the last 10 days, we have, engaged with almost half a dozen people from the transgender community to give them engagement in terms of, employment, and then later on, as they grow with us, convert them into a micro entrepreneur and self-sustainable mode with full dignity in place. The biggest challenge with that community came in that they wanted dignity. They wanted a dignified employment opportunity, which we believe, yes, we should be able to do that. We will be able to do this. And that's how we figured out an opportunity in our adversity. That we, in the cities, yes, we can engage with these communities. In the villages or in the far off cities in the country, we can, uh, we can make use of these workers who have moved back, because they have the experience of working in the bigger cities or in the metro cities. They understand the culture, they understand how the things are done. They are, to a certain extent, far much better digitally equipped and educated to at least handle their smartphones and to service the customer. So that's where we are trying to figure out if we can catch hold of that segment and give them a meaningful livelihood. So that's thing we did, and through this we are creating through the technology. So for example, our device that we are deploying in all the parts of the country is going to be an IoT lotion dispenser, right? And that's something which will give a live feed to my customer about how much, what is it that they're using, how much they are using, and they're paying only for what they are using, right? And at the same time manage ensuring that there is a uniformity in the quality standards which are maintained across the board all over the country, right? So that's how we identified the possibilities, opportunities with our customers, and at the same time hiring with our manpower, people who can be a part of our network and who grow with us in a meaningful livelihood earning a meaningful livelihood for them. So that's how. And for the companies, I would say yes, digital is the way to go, and technology, because as Adit again said, it's important for the businesses to connect with their customers and without too much depending upon their intermediaries. In fact, today itself we actually experienced one such thing where we were not getting to connect with a particular customer, and today when we spoke to them, he said your guide never told us that you have something like this.
So I think
Right.
Akash, so Akash, it's a great story, that, and my observation is, since I have seen there are how people are using our technology, and now anything and everything is becoming a service. I have seen that you are providing now the hand sanitizer as a service. One of our customer is providing tire as a service, battery as a service, water as a
Wow.
service. I think just think of anything, and people using IoT as technology have started providing. Now the guys are saying that you don't have to buy tires, so you keep paying me as per the usage, that per kilometer. And at right point in time, I will change the tire for you. So that security is a key element, because otherwise, if you don't go for this service, you buy your own tire, you never check that what is the right time to change tires, what is the right time to change a battery, what is the right time to change or service your water purifier. So anything and everything now, it's coming as a service using IoT as a technology. And Akash, actually, you're doing a great job, I would say, both in terms of using technology from
Thank
the
you.
hand sanitizer, the refillment, as well as, I personally like the distribution model which you're building up and generating more and more employment for other, the businesses, for these communities. Good story, Akash. Quickly,
Thank you.
from Vodafone Idea side, if I to talk about that, what we have done, especially in the last 70 plus days. First thing, we enabled our own team, so that all touch points should be, available for customers to engage with us, because, during the lockdown, people moved to their hometowns. And as I said, the most of these backend resources were using desktop. So providing them laptop along with the full security, the point which Naveen was highlighting, and then enabling them so that all touch points should be fully operational. So I think that's the first activity we did. Second, most of our channel partners are also small businesses, and it's important for us that how can they engage with our customers. They keep earning some money, so that at least they should be able to manage and run their organization, at least to take care of their employees, at least during this tough time period. So we enable them with few of our tools, so that they should be able to engage customers, start selling their products proposition to the customers by sitting at home, considering that customer is also at home, but the customer also needs a lot of services from our side. So we enabled our channel ecosystem completely, and I'm pretty happy and excited to share with all of you that most of our channel partners who are small business owners, they are able to run their operations very effectively. I would not say that they're making money, but at least they are able to pay salaries to their employees. They don't have to ask their employees to go back home and come back, once the situation is over. So I don't think any of our partners have lost, at least I would say, more than 90% of the manpower. They are still able to retain and manage. So that's the another area which I would like to highlight, that as an organization which we have done. Now, coming back to the customers, I have seen that there are many stories which are very relevant. I'll not go into detail of these stories, but I'll say that the even for us also, the way Akash has or the Abhinav has talked about, or Naveen has talked about, that many new propositions which have come on our way. Similarly, there are few propositions which we enabled. So first of all, we made our processes more simpler, more digital. Obviously, being a telco, our processes are more regulatory approved. So quickly, we made some changes in our processes to make it digital after taking quick regulatory approval. And again, you will be surprised that the approvals which we were pushing for, from regulatory departments for last almost couple of years, we got it in the couple of weeks time during this COVID period. So the few of our processes which were not fully digital are digital now. The customer doesn't have to give us any PO copy. Even the email from customer is okay for us to, from the regulatory standpoint. So that's the big change, which we organized for customers. We went, with Go Digital propositions for professionals and retailers, and especially in the retail environment where customers are currently struggling, or especially the retailers are currently struggling how to reach out to the customers, helping them to go online using few of our digital tools. So, for example, now dentist has their website, or a bakery chain, a small bakery chain, who's having 2 to 3 shops, has his website, and obviously using multiple tools on that websites to approach customers. A government distributor or a service provider, these kind of customers who are small businesses now are having their own website, so that they should be able to reach out to the customers, using tools, using analytics, and do a lot of stuff on their website. So it's becoming much easier for them to scale up their business. A customer
Hi,
connect
Ajay.
proposition.
We are on the clock. It's already 5:30. I think we can open for Q&A. We have
Yeah, I
one
think quickly
question.
I'll take one more minute. So on the customer connect propositions for banking and insurance sectors, which came into our way, employee productivity for IT, ITS, enabling employees so that they should be able to engage their customers, and learning remotely for education sectors. I think these are the few success stories or examples which I have personally seen a lot of customers using these propositions and are able to manage their operations, especially during this lockdown period. I think now we can quickly. I agree that we have taken slightly more time, but it was relevant to share all these informations with all the audiences. I think we can keep the platform now open. If there are any questions, the panelists are there to answer those questions. So Anushri, do we have questions which you have?
We have one question from Krishna, and he is asking us about how does a company like an event management company, especially with verticals on photography and videography, go forward. So any tips for industries like that?
Anybody would like to answer?
Come again.
Come again. We couldn't hear. Anushri, can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. The question is that what's our view for or recommendation for us that we would like to give to companies, especially like event management companies, and how do they move forward in this current situation?
I think Aditya will have a lot of stories to talk.
Yeah.
But I have spoken too much, so anybody,
No, I think Ajay, one piece for event management companies is that the social structure, and again, I think by the end of this webinar, Akash will ask us for IP in the indoor versus outdoor. So indoor is the new outdoor. So I think event management companies will have to start looking at what are the new operating models on which they will do. In fact, we were working with a large format, but they do smaller events, so they work with a lot of MSMEs and SMB clients. So is there ways in which you can actually do events which are more digital in nature, which are the way Abhinav mentioned, that the way they are the huddles are getting created. We have attended, a lot of us, including some of our guests today, are attending these webinars. There are family functions. In fact, large format events are getting planned by people who spend that money, because at some point in time, engagement is not going up. So I think we have to realize that customers want to talk. Why we are all here is because we want to engage with each other. We want to learn. So I think that part is there. The format is changing. It's a new format. It's alien to me. As Ajay mentioned, I have never looked at staring at a laptop screen and connecting with somebody. But that's that. I mean, we have all learned our way. So we have seen a lot of new operating models of how that new social fabric would get created. New subscription models will get created. Do it yourself events getting created. Can I do an event on your platform to be able to get my family together? Now those are what I think you have seen so many different platforms been there. My only request is don't rush to create an app. First get your model, see what is the pickup, because there is already a competition on the phone for which app is going to be meaningful. Akash.
I'll add something here. I just few days back I saw a wedding invitation card by an event management agency where they actually have created a package for 1,99,999 rupees, which where they're in providing a fixed number of menu on the food, sanitizer for everybody, the face mask for everybody, face shields for all the 50 guests, up to 50 numbers only, right? And they will do it within your premise. And this is how people are moving. See, even for, and it's not just for event management companies. Understand one thing, one big opportunity for the hotel industry to come up is basically by offering sterilized sheets and towels, right? Everybody, like, people will travel, business people will travel, but what we need is now a new definition of hygiene, where we need, previously it was clean sheets, clean blankets and clean towels. Now it will be sterilized sheets, sterilized blankets and sterilized towels, which will be opened right in front of them to put it on the bed, right? So like this, you have to figure out, means the companies will have to figure out an opportunity and the better way to service the customers.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah. Anushri, what else?
So I
Any
think
other?
we have a couple of questions coming in. So I think the next question is asked by Bernard, and he says that I want to know, is there any new plans and proposals by Vodafone Idea? Are we working on any IoT-based applications for only data-based usage for the industry moving forward?
I think my suggestion is we can take details from Bernard and I'll ask one of the local sales guy, whichever city which Bernard belongs to engage. And obviously, there are multiple plans which are available, and plan can be customized also if there are any specific requirements, keeping in mind the data consumption, whether it's a 2G based plans or 4G based plans. I think the plans are available. So we'll ask somebody to engage with Bernard to share details of the plans.
I think we have time for just one more question. So Harshal asks, post-COVID, new customer acquisition will be tough to acquire as the customer will have number of companies approaching him for the same product. So how do we handle this?
So how we are going to handle, or how we have started handling, is the creating differentiation in our propositions as compared to competition is one area where we are focusing on. Second, we are focusing on creating differentiation on the service side, because as Akash and Aditya were talking about, like especially Akash said that it's not only the cleanliness, it's the sanitization, the sterilization of the sheet. So service is going to play an important role. So if you are able to create differentiation on the service side, I think we'll be able to acquire more customers as compared to our competitors. So if my proposition is a differentiated proposition, and if I'm giving a differentiated service experience, which customers are looking for, during this kind of time period which we have, because this kind of time period is gonna go for a longer time. So service will play an important role according to me.
There's one more thing which we can I would probably want to add on this particular point is that I guess personalization, using right set of technology is going to be very important if you really want to reach out to the same customer which is being offered the similar products. How much you are able to personalize your offerings and services and come up with differentiation on that, as what you talked about earlier. So creating the differentiation with the help of right technology and giving that personal touch to that service is going to be important. Of course, it has to be done digitally because you cannot reach out to them personally. But I guess in the current space, that's very important. I'm seeing that happening in the rural customers. So I'm sure when the same can be done with the rural customers like farmers, I'm sure a lot can be done with urban customers. Depends on the product to product, but there are ways and means to do that. So specific to a particular customer segment, specific to particular product services, I think those differentiations can be made.
Great.
Okay. Thank you, panelists, for your insightful lessons on how businesses can steer from survival and move towards revival. Thank you, Ajay, for leading this. On behalf of Vodafone Idea Business Services, I thank all our attendees who have enriched our webinar through their interest and active participation. We will be coming up with more webinars in the future. Please do stay tuned and connect with your account managers or look out for information on our LinkedIn page. We are Vodafone Idea Business. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us and stay safe. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.